in the connection of networking.
No, do I look at you as a camera? Oh,
Whatever.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Networking. There's two interpretations of networking. One of them is between people. You know, you go to some kind of meeting and afterwards you do networking. Everybody shakes hands. It looks like little monkeys doing their thing. That's one kind of networking. And then there's the networking in the technical sense. People using the internet or other networks. Some people network the net. We're talking with John Tibayan, who lives in Santa Monica and is one of the people who invents new networks on the networks. Welcome, John. When you hear me say this, what do you think?
As far as networks go?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really networking people, and it's networking people on the net. But really, my networking is more of using the communications of the world for humanitarian purposes. So it's So my whole mission purpose, of what I do, is basically exploring how to use the communication systems of the world to help humanity in some way.
But the way you do it is by sitting behind your computer most of the time.
Well, that's one of the things that's the main thing that I do. And the reason that's the main thing that I do is because the other media, which is the mainstream television and radio broadcasting, is normally too expensive and to get off the ground. And so with this new technology, it's created an opportunity for grassroots people and individuals to actually do advanced media communication and create advanced media communication systems, relatively inexpensively. Mm-hmm. So it's really an economic thing.
Yeah, but if you go a few thousand years back, St. Paul, who was one of the founders of the church, he was writing little letters to everybody. I mean, that's what I read in the books or in church. They read that and they said the letters from Paul to this and this and this. That guy looked like a networking.
The epistles.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you Catholic?
Yes.
Oh, you are. Okay. Yeah. I was raised Catholic also.
Yes. So those are very much like a description of networking in the human sense that we would call these days, using probably, slow mail, but it did work.
Well, yes, it did. Yes, it did. And then they used, but no one used to have the actual letters themselves. They used to take those,
read them in church.
Read them in church. So now I think the big revolutionary breakthrough, and I'm really mainly concerned with nonprofit and humanitarian projects on the planet.
So was Paul, huh?
Sometimes. No.
No, but I like that link because these days we talk about, gee, this is really new. But of course, all through history, people have used some kind of networking system. Sometimes it was walking through Europe in the Middle Ages, where they all spoke Latin, going from one university to another, but it had the same kind of connection. They were developing ideas. Now, that's what you try to achieve now with the internet, is helping people develop ideas, initiatives, that kind of things.
That's correct. It's basic. I keep running back to the word communications. Because the communications of the world, even in the church, or even with St. Paul or the different religions, when this information was passed on through the priests and the ministers or whoever was in charge, the rabbis, and it still wasn't in the hands of the individual. It was still censored, and information was held by an elite group of people. And up to this is the first time in history that we're experiencing now where this communications is actually, the communication system itself is actually being put into the hands of the average person and grassroots organizations to do with themselves and communicate directly without having to go through bureaucracy.
Now, I agree on the grand scale, but in fact, some people will say, this seems true, but the people that do it are mostly white Americans with some money, maybe not rich people, but with some money, access to a computer. But the millions and billions of people living out in China or Africa or whatever, of Asia, don't have access to that. So it's still an elite kind of communication system. What can we do about that?
Well, it's an elite kind of communication system, but the people that have the means to be involved and get active to do humanitarian projects on the planet these are the people that don't have a lot of money, but they have a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of connections and resources. So the information in this elite group that's getting together are able to connect their resources together and work together very efficiently, which was not possible before, through the ease of communication of email and a variety of other.
Let's make that a little bit practical. What you're saying is that, for instance, you have a drive or a church meeting or whatever, a humanitarian meeting in a certain area. You used to do that by mail or go to the supermarket, put something on. Now you can do it by email. It's more efficiently, and you can pool interest because you can write to someone else in the neighborhood and say, hey, do you have a mailing list for this or that? Is that the kind of initiative you see?
Well, now you could do it's really all economics. And what has held a lot of people back, or a lot of organizations or humanitarian projects, is basically finances and money. People always want to put money into giving food to the poor, but they don't want to pay for administration. No one wants to pay for the mailings or the administration or the promotion. And so this is the way you can do it very inexpensively, and it doesn't cost a lot of money, so people don't object to that.
Okay, now let's make this specific. Give a few examples, because you have been involved in a number of projects. You have developed a number of ideas. Give some example.
Well, right now I'm working with a group of people called the Earth Rainbow Network, which is the beauty of this whole thing is everyone is making themselves present, and to be they're present on the internet and very easy to communicate with. In the past, it was very, very difficult to even find people, to locate them, because there is never, in any nonprofit humanitarian project, they never have a budget for advertising. The money always goes everywhere else. So when it comes to where are these people and how do you contact them and all of this stuff, it's very difficult. So now they're all putting websites up. So now it's very convenient. We all know we have our press kits up online. Then we are able to email back and forth. Now each group has its own email list. In the past, if you sent out a group to 10,000 people, it might be $10,000, say $1 per item that you send out for printing and everything. Now you can send these out on a regular basis, up to 10,000 people in a mailing list.
But there's an objection, because I get a lot of email from very good-willing people that I might support or do something for them, but I get too much. I personally get maybe 100 emails per day, so I think, oh, Jesus, another group that wants my attention, my time, to fill in a form or send some money.
No, these are only groups that want to participate. So
it's more about the structural network communications, as you're talking.
Right. There are a lot of people that want to find each other, and they all want to do things and work together to do similar things, like humanitarian projects. And this is a way for them to find each other. And there are news groups that they can join to do this, and there's also email lists or listservs that they can do this and just be notified when different events or different things are happening. So the fascinating thing about this, I've been working on this for about 20 years with my organization, my particular, which is an information clearinghouse of humanitarian projects. And without a lot of funding, it was very difficult to find people and communicate and to mail things out to people, and it just never got off the ground. And since the internet came into existence, it has taken off incredible, because the internet is made for information. It's made for databases. It's made for to be a clearinghouse of information and facilitate that transfer of information. So it's ideal for what I want to do. So without the internet, I'd be still struggling along, probably have given up by now. But the internet has made this possible, and not only possible, but it has a promise of the future which is astounding for these kind of projects.
Is that a local promise or is it a global promise? In the sense, will it connect more local people, or will it connect people across the country, across nations?
Yeah, I think that it's going to do both. It's going to be local and global, and that's the whole theme of the internet. Really is that it's a global thing, but it's also a local thing. Mm-hmm. And so you can I get people that communicate with me in Santa Monica through email, and then I'll get from Russia and Europe and Asia, I'll get email also. So it's a kind of an integration of both global and local consciousness that's emerging. And no one
What
knows.
can you do without actually meeting the people in the end? I mean, can you start a committee or some initiative without sometimes actually meeting and saying, hello, I'm John?
Right. I'll give you an example. Right now, where the Earth Rainbow Network is a group of organizations and people that want to do a humanitarian event for the millennium. And one of the things that's considered is to do a large concert with a lot of different artists and speakers and for the millennium event.
So in the end, people have to come there.
And at the end, this would be a physical event, and also if I can make it happen, which I don't know if it'll happen in 2 years, but with the technology, but I'd like to make it an internet event, a large internet event, and a physical event also. But we would have never met, and we would have never gone this far. We've been communicating and resourcing and networking, and now we're at a point we've created a conference because of this facilitation of information and networking. And next month, right here in Santa Barbara, we're going to have the first world conference to talk about putting on this global concert for the millennium.
And how do people find that on the net? Do you have a website where they can look at it?
Yes, we have. There's several websites. There's several groups that are affiliated with this, and mine is it's called Global Visions, and it's just globalvisions.org. If you just type that into your browser, it'll go right there. And there are several. From there you can find. I have an online searchable directory, so you can actually go in and find all of this stuff just by doing searches. Right. So that's what
Does this change? Does this change not only your work? You say you've been networking for a long time, and in the old days it means, licking stamps and stuff like that.
It was horrible.
Now I go to places here in Los Angeles and meetings, and what people exchange are actually email addresses. Yeah? The old days are gone.
The old days are gone, right? And it's it just facilitates everything. It makes it very easy and very simple. The other thing about email that's fascinating is that it's not as intrusive. With permission. Again, if you get a whole bunch that you don't want, it's intrusive. But when somebody sends you an email, you can check it when you want to, and then you can respond when you want to, and it's at your convenience, and it's not an intrusive thing. As a telephone call, you get a telephone call, and it comes right into your face, or a fax comes right into your face. But this is a thing where it's like if you're dealing with a lot of information, you can really prioritize it much.
Isn't that because we haven't yet learned to be alert to emails? I mean, if now an email would come from the IRS, the tax people, suppose they do that and they say, hey, you have to be there tomorrow. I think if I have a few of those, I would become a little bit wary of my email. Oh, gee. When sometimes you go on holidays, you come back and you open the door, and in Holland we have blue envelopes where the tax people sent you. You must have a color here too, and that kind of, oh, gee, you don't want that, yeah?
Right.
Don't you think that the same will happen with email?
Well, they're working on it, and they have it now in existence where some advanced programmers just make a selection.
Priority.
They prioritize, and they only allow there's certain email addresses that they want to come in, and you can do that. In fact, you can do that right now if you want, and there are programs out there to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't find it necessary yet, but if it gets to the point where I get so much email,
and you have to do something.
You can do that. You can just say that certain email addresses are allowed in here and the others aren't, or the others go to a different place that you don't have to check as regularly or something like that. Yeah.
Now you have quite some experience over the past few years with your Global Visions.
Yes.
Earth Rainbow Network?
The Earth Rainbow Network is I'm part of that, which I connected with on a listserv or mailing list, an emailing list back and forth of a variety of groups, groups of people from all over that are all connecting together on email. So that's the Earth Rainbow Network, started by a person in Canada called Jean Tibayan, and he's the one that had the idea about this concert. And so we're all trying to put our energies together to create this, make this concert come into existence. And my area is wanting to broadcast it on the internet, to get involved in broadcasting.
You mean video?
At some level, on
Or video or audio broadcasting.
video, audio, whatever is available and whatever works. But
Which means that
television would be the ultimate. But whether the television will be ready in 2 years, we don't know.
But what you basically say, you
It's
want
really the technology.
some kind of webcast where you say on this address there is an ongoing message, not like repeated, but there is a program about whatever subject you want. Is that what you mean by broadcast?
No.
Like a radio station on the internet?
Yeah, it's like you can have it as a radio station. You can go in and it will be a live concert. Well, it'll be like television or radio, and you can have live parts of it, aspects of it, and you can have pre-recorded aspects of it. That if people miss parts of it, they can actually go to the archive and review different parts of it, which is a nice part that's kind of better than regular television that's available, right?
Now, from your experience, what I'm interested in is, are there certain age groups that are into this technology, into networking, to the internet, and certain age groups that are not? Do the baby boomers go for it? Do the X generation, the 30 to 40 or 30, 35 group go for it? How about the young kids? Do you have any idea what kind of people respond to your activities?
Well, my particular group, it's mostly the baby boomers, right, and older.
People that have a little bit more time to sit down and...
Right. Well, these are the people also that have been involved in all these things, because I'm contacting these specific organizations. Mm-hmm. So they've been at it for a while. And then you have the new generation, the younger people that'll be coming up, which will be from their teens into about middle 20s. But that middle ground is not really being too much addressed yet at this time. They're usually involved with making a lot of money to survive right now.
But do you have a feeling that it's the 60s generation?
The younger people and the older people that have a little bit more time on their hands to work on these things.
Yeah, it feels like the 60s generation had the dream, and now they have the means to make the dream come true, like global corporation. Yes. But this middle group didn't have the dream. They had a dream to make money, and that's not something you can do yet on the internet.
Well, that's not true. There's a lot of people making a lot of money on the internet. And that's actually one of the projects that I'm exploring and experimenting with. For instance, there's one in January, the CD Now, which is a website, started selling CDs in January, and they are now generating about, I think it's 20,000 a day.
Well, there's the other examples, of course, Amazon, the bookshop. But Amazon, the other side of the story is they're still losing money.
They're losing money? How?
Yes, they lost $7 million in the last quarter.
Who did?
The Amazon bookshop. Their turnover is increasing. Their sales are great, but the money, the profit doesn't seem to be there.
The profit, where's the profit?
There's no profit.
I don't hear about the, why is there not profit in that?
Because it seems that the physical handling of this, enormous variety of the books doesn't work out well. So they can sell it and get the money in, but then the books have to be shipped, and their cost structure obviously is too high. So there's a different story about getting rich on the net.
Well, I haven't heard that part of it. I've heard that that they are doing well. They're selling a lot, and that they are making a profit. So I don't know where.
We're in America. If companies want to go public, they have great stories and they go. But the real facts are that they are still not making money, and that happens a lot. That there is an expectation about the net. Now, your expectation a few years ago was, I've been working on projects on humanitarian organizations.
Right.
You really feel it's a step forward for you, the internet?
Tremendous step forward. I mean, it's just, the biggest step forward is having access to the media and to communications, which wasn't there before. Mm-hmm. Before,
you feel more connected to the world?
Oh, definitely. No,
not like an isolated loner, but now you're part of the whole thing.
Right. For instance, I just got. It's a very magical thing too, because when you go to check your email, you never know who's going to be there. So I just checked my email the other day, and there was I can't even pronounce the name of it, but they said that the largest film company, film producers in the Soviet Union, and they saw my website and they liked it, and they wanted to work together and connect with some humanitarian film projects. Because on my website I talk about what I want to do as far as media and film and television. And
so you think it's an empowering medium?
it's very empowering. I would never probably have that kind of opportunity. And this happens periodically like that, and it's very exciting. It's very the possibilities and the potential. So even if the big money isn't there, or even if the big money isn't made, the access to communication on the planet is phenomenal.
Well, you hear it. The internet has advantages. It is empowering, at least for some people. We were talking with John Tibayan here in Santa Monica, and your website was?
www.globalvisions.org.
Thank you.